Chelsea and Wolves game. Chelsea and Wolves game. I'll give you two options. If you have them, go for Wolves win, Wolves or draw. Wolves or draw. But to be on the safer side, go for under 3.5 because both teams aren't scoring goals. Both teams don't know how to score goals. And then Real Madrid versus Chelsea. You don't need to be told that Real Madrid straight win, quick. Straight win. Boga. It's a Real Madrid straight win. Straight win for Real Madrid. So I told you, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Real Madrid straight win. I'm sure Chelsea fans will disagree, but the Chelsea fans who disagree, go and put your money behind Chelsea. Even Chelsea fans will go and bet that Real Madrid win. Then they'll be sitting there in their heart hoping that Chelsea win. If Chelsea wins, they've won with emotions. If Real Madrid win, they've won money. Charlie, bet you don't follow your heart, Boga. Follow your mind. Fight Club. Oh, Chaley. Hello and welcome to the Oh, Chaley podcast. My name is Daniel Koranteng, your host. Chaley, this is the only platform where you have an opportunity to make money from your sports knowledge. We talk all things sports, but Chaley, the thing we say, money day. When we discuss the sports, I'll drop some tips, then you go and stick, then we make money, then you come back, and then the cycle continues. But don't forget to subscribe to the channel, share this video, like it, tell a friend to tell a friend. This is the Oh Chaley podcast. My name is Daniel Koranteng. Let's go! Fight Club. Let's start off with some trending news in the world of sports this week. It's been centered around Chelsea, honestly. On Sunday night, Graham Potter was sacked as Chelsea boss. Then on Monday, in fact, the same night, we started hearing talks of Julian Nagelsmann maybe becoming the next Chelsea boss. So as we know, what we know now is that Chelsea is in talks with Nagelsmann, they are in talks with Luis Enrique, even Jose Mourinho to some, according to some reports, they are in talks with all these managers to take over from Graham Potter as a substantive manager. But as at now, Super Frank Lampard, he has returned. After being sacked at Chelsea a couple of seasons ago, he went to Everton. He was sacked earlier this season. Chelsea have rehired him. He will take charge of the next 10 games or the last 10 games of this season, and that includes that Champions League encounter against Real Madrid, which we'll talk about a bit later. But yes, that is the news. So Super Frankie, his first game as Chelsea boss, or his first game back as Chelsea boss, will be away at home against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and that should be interesting. But let's go into the main subject. Let's talk about the games that we've lined up for this weekend. The first one is the early kickoff in the Premier League. It's Manchester United at home against Everton. It will be a tough one. Why am I saying that? Man United have not been necessarily at their best in recent weeks. We saw them beat Brentford during the week, but it was a very laboured performance, especially offensively. So you really struggle to see how Man United will get goals or going forward, even starting from the Everton game. It looks like if it's not Rashford scoring, then nobody else can score. Weghorst is struggling. Bruno Fernandes's goals have dried up unless it's a penalty. And yes, all around the squad, the goals are dried up except Rashford. So that is where the focus should be in terms of Man United's inability to put the ball in the back of the net. There are struggles when it comes to putting the ball in the back of the net. Everton, on the other hand, we all know this, they are in a relegation fight. They've been patchy. It looks like they started well under Sean Dyche, then they hit a slump a bit. But exactly, that's when you're considering a relegation threatening team, you don't necessarily expect the team to put up a string of 10 wins in a row. You expect these patchy performances, but they need to pick their moments. But this will be a very interesting game. Man United playing at home will definitely give them the advantage in this one. So that's where I'm sort of leaning. But you also cannot rule out an upset because of how we know that Sean Dyche can play. We know he's beaten Arsenal already this season in his first game of the season. We know how difficult his teams are to break down, and that's where the caveat is. Whilst Man United are struggling going forward, Everton themselves can put up a very low block that is extremely difficult to break down, and Arsenal themselves can testify in that game at Goodison Park. So that's something that we need to watch in that one. Although because of Man United's home form, I'm sort of leaning towards Man United in that game. The next one is Saturday. Wolverhampton Wanderers, Julian Lopetegui up against Super Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard's first game back in charge of Chelsea should be really interesting. Wolves themselves have been patchy. They play really good football, but again, as has been the story of Wolves over the past 2-3 seasons, their offensive line in terms of scoring goals has been sort of disappointing. They create tons of chances. If you watch them, they are very interesting to watch, but they just can't seem to score goals. And they come up against a Chelsea team that haven't been too impressive, and basically that is why Graham Potter was sacked. But during the week, they faced Liverpool at home. I thought they were by far the better team. They should have put the ball in the back of the net. Chelsea also have pretty similar troubles like Wolves. Under Graham Potter, they were not necessarily like creating a lot of chances. But even when the chances came, they found it very difficult to score goals. When you look at the guys who play up top in Joao Felix and Kai Havertz, they are not necessarily your bang-on goal scorers. So that's where the struggles may be. We don't know the changes that Frank Lampard will make to his team. Maybe he brings Aubameyang back, we don't know. Maybe he shuffles the lineup a bit, which is very evident when it comes to new managers who come. And everybody has their preferred players. But I can bet you Mason Mount will start. I promise you, if Mason Mount is fit and ready, he'll start. I tell you, Mason Mount, his father is now the coach. Papa ba. If you like, just put money on Mason Mount to start. Easy. But yes, let's go back on track. Yes, Chelsea away at Wolves. It will be very difficult. I'm sort of leaning towards Wolves. Why? Because I don't feel like Frank Lampard has had this squad that he's taking over right now is completely different, very different from the squad that he left behind. We've seen that most of the players that he was sort of were his favorites 2 seasons ago have all left the club. When I say favorites, I mean the guys who made his starting lineup more consistently. Most of them have left the club, and it's not really looking like the team that he left behind. And when you look at this current squad, they are bereft of confidence. Yes, you might say a manager has left, new manager bounce, but going away to Wolves is always a very tricky place. You never know the Wolves team that will turn up, and they usually turn up maybe not in terms of results, but in terms of performances when the big boys come around. And when you look at the state of this Chelsea team, Wolves will be licking their lips and saying they can't have a go at them. So let's just keep our eye out for that particular one. And then the big one on Sunday, oh my God, it's Anfield, it's Liverpool against Arsenal. Tough one. Arsenal riding high, league leaders. 10 games away, or 11, 10 games away from winning the Premier League title. Chaley, Arsenal are getting there. Oh God of Liverpool, come down on Sunday. Chaley, it's not a song, but I've made a song. Because Chaley, Arsenal. Chaley, look, Liverpool versus Arsenal. If you're going on form, you obviously go for Arsenal. But that Anfield factor, you can't overlook it. Manchester United overlooked it. They got whooped 7-0. And that's just the thing that is making you... It's like, that's the only thing that Liverpool can hold on to right now. If you saw their performance against Chelsea, they were piss poor. They were just a bit too open, too easy to carve open. And this Arsenal team will look at this Liverpool team and say, look, if there was ever a time where we could go to Anfield and boss it and win the game, this is exact time. And look, for me, again, in terms of form, Arsenal, I'm leading towards Arsenal. But again, football has taught you not to overlook, especially the big boys, and especially at Anfield. You cannot overlook Liverpool. So that's probably the only thing that Liverpool have going their way. But Charlie, it is what it is. It is what it is. Let's talk about some Champions League action. Remember, the Champions League returns. There are some really interesting fixtures. Really interesting fixtures. Let's talk about that Napoli versus AC Milan encounter. They played just a couple of weeks ago. In fact, just last week, AC Milan just absolutely destroyed Napoli. Cleared them. They destroyed them left, right, center. 4-0. It was a resounding win. But it's the Champions League, and reports are that Victor Osimhen will return or may return. There's a high possibility that he return for that first leg encounter against Milan. So that could change the dynamics a bit. But again, when it comes to Champions League, I always say that Champions League is different. It's different. It's a completely different terrain than league football. Napoli they've been brilliant this whole season in the Serie A. They are running away with the title. I think they are just about 3 or 4 wins away from wrapping up the title. They are that good. They've been that good this season. But the Champions League lights, when they shine, you look at the tradition of AC Milan. There are some teams that just know and understand how to play the Champions League. And that's where you can't really be sure when it comes to predicting these games. And Milan have just given us an indication of what they can do by beating Napoli by 4-0 in the league. And on the terrain that Napoli have been by far the best team in. So, look, it's one of those games that it's really dicey. I expect a very close tactical encounter. Why? If Napoli hadn't lost 4-0 to Milan in that league game, I would have believed that they would come out all guns blazing. But it's a two-legged affair. I feel like both teams will be a bit cautious, especially in the first leg. I understand that away goals are not part, but you don't want to enter that first leg, go gung-ho football, and then risk losing like what you happened to you in the league. You risk losing 3-0, 4-0, or by a huge scoreline. And then the second leg, there's pressure on you to come out and attack and then be caught on the counter and all those things. So I feel it's going to be a much more tactical encounter than what we saw in the league game. It's going to be a much closer game than what we saw in terms of teams wanting to express themselves offensively. So that's basically what I'm looking at. In the other game, there are two other big games. Let's talk about Manchester City and Bayern Munich. Look, if you asked me 3 weeks ago who win this fixture, and I'm sure those of you who follow my platforms will know. If you asked me 3 weeks ago who win this fixture, I would have said by far Man City are beating Bayern Munich. Julian Nagelsmann can't. He can, but Pep Guardiola is not going to lose to him over 2 legs. But Thomas Tuchel is back. And these are the games that Thomas Tuchel lives for. These are the games that he loves. And it is going to be an extremely interesting tactical battle between the two teams. This is not a game where you can just get up and say this team will win. It's going to be that tricky. And I feel it will sway from time to time during the 90 minutes. And that's just the first leg. Manchester City playing at home, I don't even think that is an advantage if you ask me. Because this Bayern team already has a very solid group of players, and now Thomas Tuchel has come in. I'm sure that, look, this was a game that he was looking forward to when he took over this Bayern job. This is a game that was ringing in his head. And I'm also very sure that when Pep Guardiola read that Thomas Tuchel is now the new Bayern manager, he said, damn, man. Damn. What is this? What is this, man? Damn. But it has happened. Then we'll love to see. It is midweek action in the Champions League. So that should also be very interesting. And then, this one, I'll not even spend time on it. Real Madrid versus Chelsea. It is Carlo Ancelotti against Frank Lampard. The owners of the Champions League against Frank Lampard. The bosses of the Champions League against Frank Lampard. The defending champions of the Champions League against Frank Lampard. Straight Real Madrid win. So I don't need to ask me anything. Look at what Real Madrid did to Barcelona. Benzema is on fire. Vinicius Junior is on fire. Again, this Chelsea team, even if they convincingly beat Wolves over the weekend, the Champions League is a completely different terrain. It's a completely different terrain. And going away to the Bernabeu, it will be difficult, extremely difficult for Chelsea to get anything out of this game. So I'm just leaning towards Real Madrid. Now it's time for our predictions, betting tips. Let's start off with the first game, Man United versus Everton. Although I think it will be a close one, I think Man United will edge it. So I'm going for a Man United straight win. The odds on that on the various platforms are pretty good. So I'm going for a Man United straight win. Then the Chelsea and Wolves game. I'll give you two options. If you have them, go for Wolves win, Wolves or draw. But to be on the safer side, go for under 3.5 because both teams aren't scoring goals. Both teams don't know how to score goals. So I think the more safer bet will be under 3.5. If you have Vim, if you want to risk it to get a biscuit, go for a Wolves or draw. And then for the Liverpool versus Arsenal game, be on the safer side, I'll just go for goals. I'll go over 2.5 in that game. Liverpool versus Arsenal. I honestly don't know who will win that game. My mind is telling me, based on analysis, that Arsenal will win. But my heart wants Liverpool to win for obvious reasons. Charlie, you know me. if Liverpool were on top of the table, I want Arsenal to beat them. That's just how it is. So there's no this thing. There's no matter. So let's move on to the Champions League. Napoli against AC Milan. Again, I think the safer bet is over 1.5. Over 1.5. I don't see too many goals in it. I don't think it will stretch like what we saw in the league game. But at the same time, too, I don't see a goalless draw. Although to be cagey, to be tactical, I feel that yes, over 1.5. I think over 1.5 is a good enough bet to go for, especially with the return of Victor Osimhen. That is if he plays. Even if he doesn't play, I'm thinking over 1.5 is a very good bet to go for. Manchester City against Bayern Munich. Again, I also go for over 1.5 for that one, just to be on the safer side. I really cannot tell who is going to win that game over at the Etihad. So over 1.5, 2 goals in that game. I think it's a very good possibility that can happen. And then Real Madrid versus Chelsea. You don't need to be told that Real Madrid straight win, quick. Straight win. Boga. It's a Real Madrid straight win. Straight win for Real Madrid. So I told you, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Real Madrid straight win. I'm sure Chelsea fans will disagree, but the Chelsea fans who disagree, go and put your money behind Chelsea. Even Chelsea fans will go and bet that Real Madrid win, then they'll be sitting there in their heart hoping that Chelsea win. If Chelsea wins, they've won with emotions. If Real Madrid win, they've won money. Charlie, bet you don't follow your heart, Boga. Follow your mind. Charlie. Well, that is it for this week's episode of the Chaley podcast. My name is Daniel Koranteng. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like the video, share the video, and please, Charlie, leave a comment in the comment section. When you watch it, if you want to edit some of the tips I've given, do it. In fact, drop your codes down there. Let others come in and feed on it. Charlie, the money is for everybody. This is say, well, I'll make you fishers of men. Don't didn't say fisher of man or fishers of chop. The money for all of us. But Charlie, catch you next week. Yeah, home. Fight Club.